My name is Jeff Adams. I'm a singer-songwriter, musician, poet, performer, independent producer, and recording artist with Bucketstomp Productions. As an independent artist, it was important for me to align myself to an outside publishing entity besides a publishing administrator. While I founded Bucketstomp Productions for this purpose, it makes it easier to delineate publishing royalties and artist royalties for my music. Of course, as an indie, you're allowed to be your own publishing entity, of course. My point is that for performance rights purposes, you have two categories. You could certainly have music written by, let's just say, Bob. Okay, so, and then also published by Bob. All right, no problem. It's when the royalties come in that the distinction might prove difficult in this stratagem. Unless Bob is very careful, Bob could mess up appropriate splits, taxes, and profitability between Bob the writer and Bob the publisher. So I encourage you to do your own research and draw your own conclusions as to what's necessary for you. If you want more information like this on the future videos, just please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. Some more content on motivation and music shows up on your feed. Click the bell icon to be notified when new videos are posted. And let me know in the comments below and we can talk about this some more. In that line of thought, welcome to Ye Old Indie Dude. This is episode number 9. A little show dedicated to inspiration and motivation, especially for creative individuals like songwriters and musicians. Oftentimes I'll approach these concepts from the perspective of being a musician, even though they can be more widely applied. Thank you for watching. So, 3 Latin phrases, right? So how can 3 Latin phrases direct you towards being in the flow? Like, go with the flow. Let's find out. Beethoven said, "Music can change the world." Do you believe this is true? Even to this day, with the saturation of media blaring into a seeming cacophony of chaotic noise? In my estimation, it would be akin to a field of daisies. While that might seem silly, it lends itself towards perspective, point of view, a chosen point of view. One can choose anything in life and turn it into an aspect of annoyance, but if we take a step back and try to view something other than through initial reaction, we could see that at any given moment, rather than as a problem to solve, it's a moment to appreciate. This moment in time is like none other, and so is this one, etc. Granted, that doesn't seem to be a particularly good thing in 2020, but it's remarkable nonetheless. Music in the soul can be heard by the universe. It's a quote from Lao Tzu. Michio Kaku recently had said something similar. I don't know the exact quote. It was, "The sound of the universe is a symphony of strings." I think it's something along those lines. I loved that. Have you ever heard the term carpe diem? It's a phrase in Latin that means seize the day. And I think that's what I was trying to say in regards to appreciating the moment. It's the first of my top 3 inspirational Latin phrases. The chaotic noise, so to speak, has always been there in various levels. It's just with media preponderance, it takes more focus and deliberation to not be drowned out in your own thoughts in any sense. Music, rather than being a culprit or even an addition to this endless cacophony, actually seems to still it somewhat. But music is so diverse, it can do all that and more depending upon your mood. Sometimes people seem to enjoy a cacophony. Those modern youngsters with their blue jeans and rock and roll music. Just kidding. My point is that by cacophony, I refer to the noise of life that becomes the music of our lives, rather than the mellifluous flow. I want to talk more about flow in just a minute. Of course, too, is the use of language in modern music. In the modern age, the composer and the poet are one and the same. It seems within this arena there are no limits. Language is fascinating, with the endless potential of creative expression, with the clever use of words, to express things that really everyone else feels too, especially with the end result being an intentional piece of music, thereby touching on the universal. Admittedly, the creative process has been mysterious to me with its ebbs and flows, yet it's been relentlessly persistent. Being creative is what allows me to entertain. Being able to entertain people as well as to inspire towards the positive, or what I've long ago identified as my calling. I've been able to do this in a variety of ways over the years, much to both my chagrin and gratitude. I have a thankful heart for the ability within me to create, or maybe a better way to put it is gratitude for access to this flow. Really, words in the expression of ideas and the love of music have been the background of existence before sound was ever recorded. Not just my sound, I haven't been around that long. Music is a language of the spirit. It opens the secret of life, bringing peace and abolishing strife. It's a quote from Khalil Gibran. Music touches the soul. Even with its diversity among the spectrum of genres, the universal appeal to all of humanity through this medium is undeniable. Music touches every aspect of human experience. My personal take on it is that music combines aspects of mind, body, and soul. And this relates not only to the experience of it, the different feelings we get at different times when we hear certain music, but the creation of it too. There's distinctly something other to the experience. Something mystical to the prospect. I'm certainly not in any sort of trance nor state of automatic writing or something while I compose that I'm aware of. No, I'm usually what they say tabula rasa. It's another little Latin phrase that means blank slate. It's the second of my top 3 favorite inspirational phrases in Latin. Tabula rasa was a concept of John Locke. He was a 17th century philosopher who posited that the mind is a blank slate at birth, and the things that you learn throughout your life as we grow, regardless of genetics, that wasn't a part of his supposition at the time, of course, is purely by way of impression. Now, I thought the phrase sounded cool when I learned it a long time ago. I liked the phrase so much that I wrote a song called Tabula Rasa. And then when I started my first band, it was called Tabula Rasa. But as to the premise, I really don't know if this is true or merely just an attribute of something to ponder on. I don't know its value in the overall scheme of greater understanding or anything. However, I recognize a universality in the concept because sometimes similar notions occur to everyone, or like-minded multitudes within cultural and temporal environments. But in thinking along the lines of tabula rasa, besides the obscure context, first I think of the fact that when I write music, I'm usually just sitting down with a guitar, a pen, and a blank piece of paper. Tabula rasa. Despite whatever inkling is flowing through me, the physical part begins there. To some people, it might seem like a bit of a primal method for me to write out words on a page with a pen. It's not primal, really. You know, the ballpoint pen wasn't even a thing until after World War II. My grandparents were in school learning how to write using fountain pens. Way back, long before email. Before email, there was just mail. Tempus fugit. It's a Latin phrase that means time flies, and it's my 3rd favorite inspirational Latin phrase. Music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. That was a quote from Plato. So, in regards to flow, tempus fugit. So that means we need to go with the flow. That means we need to find the flow. We need to recognize what that is. So what does it mean exactly? Are we talking about the flow of time? We don't have much of a choice in the matter, right? In positive psychology, they call it a flow state. The flow state. It's very theoretical, a lot of hypothetical things done on it, a lot of studies. The flow state, it's also known as being in the zone. It's like a mental state in which a person performing some activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement, and enjoyment in the process of activity. Flow, or being in the zone, is characterized by like absorption in what one is doing. The resulting transformation is that one's sense of time is dilated. It's a term coined by, can you pronounce that? It's a name I'll just have to let you try and pronounce this. It was coined in 1975. It's been widely referred to across a variety of fields over time. The concept has been, is claimed to have existed for thousands of years under other names. I can go into the history of that in another time. I just wanted to address the topic first. If we wanted to go into more of the etymology behind the word and other associated terms over the span of history, I can do that, of course. Just let me know. We'll talk about it more. Musicians, they may experience a state of flow. There's research that has shown that performers in a flow state have a heightened quality of performance as opposed to when they're not in a flow state. Although how this is measured, I don't know. In a study performed with professional classical pianists, they said that they tried to induce a flow state. So this is a study, and I want to refer to it because I think that there could be possibilities here, although they do say that these things are hypothesized. But they say there's a significant relationship between the flow state and heart rate, blood pressure, and major facial muscles, all of which relax while in the flow state, as is measured in this study. Further emphasized that supposedly the flow state is a state of effortless attention. I don't know if you've ever seen any musician that seems to be in the groove when they're jamming out. A lead guitarist, perhaps a lead, or an organist, or any musician. They're in the pocket, they're in the groove, sounding like a well-oiled machine, just coming out with the sound. It's just magical, emotional, moving. There's probably a grimace of expression on every single person's face in that musical act. I guarantee you that. So, you want to study a single piano player and say, well, his face looks kind of relaxed. Have you ever been to a drum circle? It's another kind of place where you can feel that sense of flow. Groups of drummers experience a state of flow when they sense a collective energy that drives the beat. Something they refer to as getting into the groove. Another word for that is entrainment. That's a word you don't hear every day. Fancy word. Brainwave entrainment. I love this stuff because music goes along these lines. It's in wavelengths, etc. It's also referred to as brainwave synchronization. Neural entrainment. It's a hypothetical capacity of the brain to naturally synchronize its brainwave frequencies with the rhythm of periodic external stimuli, most commonly auditory, visual, or tactile. Does this sound, look, or feel familiar somehow? Nikola Tesla said, if you wish to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency. So patterns of neural firing that are measured in hertz. Hey, I stubbed my toe. That hurts. No, not that kind of hurts. Guitars, pianos, violins, and other instruments are tuned at 440 hertz, for example. So these patterns of neural firing correspond with states of alertness all along the spectrum. Focused attention, deep sleep. It's hypothesized by Wikipedia scholars that by listening to the beats of certain frequencies, one can induce a desired state of consciousness that corresponds with a specific neural activity, such as studying, sleeping, exercising, meditating, doing creative work, and so on. I thought it was fairly cool. or likewise drummers and bass guitarists, they describe a state of flow when they're feeling the downbeat together as being in the pocket. It's a reference from a musician called Bart Elliot. I'll put a link to his page down below. He said, "It's impossible to have a pocket without also having a groove." Love that one. Many people feel that the question is not so much what the pocket is as how you know when you've achieved it. To the musician, it feels like the music is playing itself, as though everything is merged together, all the rhythmic parts being played by one instrument, as I was describing earlier. That was the quote from Bart Elliot. Researchers have measured flow through different scales of awareness and goals and unambiguous feedback, concentration, sense of control, loss of self-consciousness, transformation of time, and autotelic experience. I'd have to look into it further to determine exactly how these things could have been measured. While a lot has been said in regards to flow, being in the groove or being in the pocket, being in the zone, it does seem to be a lot of hypothesis and conjecture. Autotelic means not motivated by anything beyond itself, thematically self-contained. So there's no wonder why this phenomenon might seem a little mysterious. We know that states such as flow exist, that they can be evidently measured, that they have certain relational causes. Future research will no doubt expound upon this in greater detail. Perhaps knowledge of how such states come to pass will be ironed out beyond educated conjecture. So to summarize, time flies, so seize the day and write on your own blank slate. Go with the flow. To conclude, while there have been some negative things said about the pursuit and the maintaining of a state of flow as a way of being, that perhaps this relates to hyperfocus, which would be a flow-like state, however, at the exclusion of the ability to do other things. So being in the flow could be positive and an accentuation to other activities in life, while hyperfocus can be seen as negative because of tendencies for focus to the exclusion of sometimes even basic self-care. Einstein may have been guilty of this. I heard stories in the pre-internet era, so they're unverified. We'll see if you've heard of this one. Einstein would go for walks around campus where he worked at Princeton, where he was a professor. And he would get lost. He'd be so deep in thought. And he would call the university from a payphone for the campus directory. "Excuse me, could you tell me where Albert Einstein lives?" The university staff would, of course, state, "I'm sorry, sir, we're not allowed to give out that information." Einstein is reported to have said, "No, you don't understand. I am Dr. Einstein. I have forgotten where I live." I thought that was funny. It proves the point of focus anyway, as far as that goes. But, you know, another thing that Einstein said, he said, "If I were not a physicist, I would probably be a musician. I often think in music. I live my daydreams in music. I see my life in terms of music." So if you want more information like this on future videos, please click the like button, subscribe to this channel so more content on motivation and music shows up on your feed. Click the bell icon to be notified when the new videos are posted. And let me know in the comments below and we can talk about this some more. Please check out some more videos from this series. The link should show up at any moment now. Or any of the original indie music content, including the series Indie Live, where I'm performing a live original song every week. Hey, thanks for watching.